Welcome to Rouge Radio. This is Reed Duthie, and I'm very privileged to be joined at this time by Danny Maciocia, true ambassador to the Canadian game of football, and someone who proves that dedication and hard work will pay off in the end, no doubt about it. Danny, as I said, a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, it's nice to be on. Thank you for having me.
Before we get to your time now with the University of Montreal, we just want to look back a little bit, because from the time that it was announced that we were going to have you on the program, a lot of people wanted to know, as you were leaving the Edmonton Eskimos, what was going on through your mind there when your time with Edmonton came to a close, and what were the feelings like as you left?
Well, I mean, obviously, anytime you get dismissed from a position, in a city or in an organization that you spent about 8.5 years. Obviously, it's not easy. It's not easy. But I also realized that, we got off to a 1-4 start, and there had to be some changes, and they chose to make a move with the general manager, and that's just the nature of the industry. But we had an opportunity to get on a nice little run there for 8.5 years. We went to 3 Grey Cups. We won a couple, and the last few years, weren't as good. So changes have to be made, and like I said, it's never great to be told that you're no longer wanted, but that's just the nature of the industry.
And Danny, I don't know about no longer wanted overall for you, though. I mean, a lot of success with the Edmonton Eskimos, and when you were on the open market there before going to the University of Montreal, were there what teams came calling, and what offers came your way?
Well, let me say this. When I took the job at the University of Montreal, it took place on November 16th. So you need to understand that at that point in time, the CFL season was still in progress. They were in full-season play. And as much as, you stay in contact with a lot of your colleagues, I never actively looked for another job. It was just a question of this job, coming up at the University of Montreal. And for someone like myself, it was a no-brainer. As far as being associated with this institution, because it is located in my backyard.
Well, Danny, we'll swing this on to your CIS time now with the University of Montreal, and obviously you built a successful team for quite some time in Edmonton. You've been a successful coach as well. What is your strategy moving from the CFL to the CIS, and what tactics and what abilities do you feel you can transfer over from the CFL to the college ranks?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, these are student athletes. They're not professionals. So anytime you go out there and recruit a kid, you need to understand that you're making a 4 or 5 year commitment to them. They're not coming in for a year or two and then you're going to move them. So basically, what's important for me is to give back to the community here and try to give these guys an opportunity that if tomorrow they want to earn their living playing football, then they're going to be able to do so just based on some of my previous experiences in the CFL. But what we ultimately want here is for these kids to come in, get themselves an education, and win a few football games, and hopefully give them an opportunity to win a Vanier Cup or 2.
And Danny, obviously talking about winning the Vanier Cup, the big power out in Quebec for quite some time now. It's been the Laval Rouge et Or. And what is your game plan now? Obviously, wanting to knock them off that pedestal and become the top team in Quebec. How do you look at them, and how do you feel like you can challenge them for dominance in Quebec?
Well, they are without a doubt the top team, not only in Quebec but in the country. And we're looking forward to playing them. We've got them twice on our schedule, and we're gonna know exactly where we stand once we face off against them. They are a football team that's got continuity in place. They've got structure in place, and for us, what's going to be very important is that we've got that structure and that continuity in place here over the next little while. We are a team or an institution in transition, but we think we have the elements to line up and at least give them a run for their money. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes down here in the next little while.
On Rouge Radio, we have our CIS correspondents, Mo Khan and Michel Belanger, and they have both pointed to your coaching staff, not just yourself, but the coaches you've surrounded yourself with, as being a real key factor in future success for Montreal. And they both think that very soon you're going to be challenging Laval for that top spot. Can you speak about the confidence that you have in the coaching staff that you've surrounded yourself with and what they bring to the table, why you chose them?
Well, I think I've got the best staff in the country. When you take a look at the individuals that are that I've associated myself with, there's been some coaches here that have been around with the program for the last 4 or 5 years that have established themselves as as good football coaches, and they've done some great things on the staff, like Denis Touchette and Paulo Sévillien. And these are people that were critical to me to retain their services. At the same time, I also want to bring some people that I've had an association with, like Noel Thorpe, that was in Edmonton with me and has 9 years of CFL experience, and also a former offensive coordinator with the Laval Rouge-Or, Marco Iodeluca. And these are people that are extremely important to me, and I think we have the right mix. So hopefully, make some noise, and hopefully we don't have to wait too long before we do so. So this is, I think it's an exciting time for the University of Montreal. There is a buzz on the campus. There is a buzz on the island of Montreal. We think, we think we've got the elements in place to maybe create a surprise or two. So, but only time will tell. The proof will be in the pudding, but we're looking forward to the challenge.
And it will be a tall challenge at that in Quebec, where football at the university level is so huge, and it's great to see out there. But can you speak to the challenges that recruiting presents to you in Quebec and through Eastern Ontario as well? Because with so many top schools in the province, it must be tough to convince recruits to come to Montreal when there are a lot of options. However, I'm sure that your pedigree, being from the CFL, must help in recruiting the kids.
Well, you need to understand that Montreal is already established. Montreal has already, attracted many good football players. Over the last little while, think about how many have been drafted over the last few years. There's been more out of Montreal than there's been out of the University of Laval, and that's a fact if you go back the last 3-4 years. So they've already got something in place that's established, and at the same time, when you take a look at the number of players playing football in this province right now, there's enough for the 3 French institutions, and all 3 French institutions are top 10 programs right now. So football in this province is it's healthy, it's alive and kicking, and there's enough good football players for these 3 institutions, and you witnessed it firsthand last year. All 3 of them had success. So it's just a question of which ones you want to surround yourselves with.
It is a great province for football, no doubt, in Quebec, and hopefully in Ontario we'll be able to replicate that success that you've had out in Quebec. But Danny, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about was what are we looking forward to seeing from the University of Montreal as you impose your game plan on the team, as you impose your style of coaching? What should we look for in terms of style and in terms of the type of player you're looking for to be on the University of Montreal?
Well, like I said, we're looking for the player that's going to come in there, and at the end of the day, after spending 4 or 5 years with us, he's going to walk away with a degree and hopefully a championship or 2. When we take a look at our identity offensively, I think we're going to challenge people vertically. We're going to distribute the ball. We think we've got the top running back in the country in Rozan Sene. We also got some depth at that position. Defensively, clearly, this has always been the strength of this program the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't think that's going to change much. They're quite active defensively. We're going to get after people, and hopefully we're going to create some turnovers. And, we also know what someone like Noel Thorpe is going to bring to our football team as far as special teams is concerned. So, we think we're going to be a football team that people are going to enjoy watching us play. And, we think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But we also know that this is an institution that's in transition right now. But, we feel we'll be able to compete immediately here in 2011.
And, Danny, just before I let you go, I want to mention that the University of Montreal is definitely going to be a top competitor to Laval, both this season and in the near and long-term future, especially with the way that you and Mr. Thorpe are building the program. But do you see the potential this year in the roster you've built to knock off Laval and be able to capture that top spot in Quebec?
Well, you need to understand that 2 years ago, this football team knocked off Laval here in Montreal quite convincingly. Last year, they lost the close contest 19-12. which, they missed 3 or 4 field goals in that game, but physically they just took it to them. So there's not a significant drop-off here between the two programs. There's a lot of similarities as far as, the elements that are in place. It's just a question of getting some stability and getting some continuity in place. And, we're up for the challenge, and we're looking forward to it. We have them twice on our schedule. We got them early on week 2 in Quebec City, and, we're looking forward to it because, we're going to get a better feel of, where we're situated after that second game.
And Danny Maciocia, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us here on Rouge Radio. A true credit to Canadian football, both in the pro level and the college level. Your hard work has paid off, and all the best and continued success to you and the University of Montreal, and I hope we can have you back in the future.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Danny Maciocia. And for Rouge Radio, this has been Reed Duffy